Welcome to the bonus episode with Crystal Cabrae. If you have not tuned into the main episode because it's not posted yet, you can go live and catch it on YouTube at Outstanding Women Leaders. For season 6, we are telling all the stories and truths that we can. And today we're doing a human design reading for Crystal's chart. So Crystal, your public role is really unique because out of the 12 public roles, you are the only one that is truly experiential in how you learn. You might do the homework because you have to, but you learn through experience, which makes sense why you published a book that you redacted. So if you didn't get it then, you can't get it now. This is what it means to be, I love that because I've always seen myself as a rare book on a shelf that if you get lucky, you bump into. And if you don't, it's all right. I'm rare, right? I love that about your initial book.
I love that though. That is so perfect.
So the 4 line, there's 6 lines, and then they form 12 public roles. The 4 line is the most fixed of the lines. It's the foundation of people. Every good storyteller has to have a foundation of people. And if you haven't tuned into the episode, you can check out Whereas Planet Storyteller, where you can learn all of the things of storytelling. If you want to be good at storytelling, this is your chart actually says you are a master of storytelling.
Stop it! No.
So your 4 line, the foundation of people, and the 4 line is very sensitive to the environment it's in. And when it's in the right place, the right people show up. And when it's in the wrong place, the wrong people show up. And we tend to look at life as it's the other way around. And what this means is that someone you might not like here, if you went to prison, they might be your favorite person, right? You're just not in the right environment to receive that person. So if you meet someone one time, you don't like them, you might have, we go to the right environment, go to your favorite restaurant, whatever, you might find that you can tolerate them more. This works really well with family. Like think about like which environment you like family members in, because, you're kind of stuck with a lot of them.
That is so true though. Oh my gosh, I love this.
And there's 64 genes, there's 6 DNA, there's 64 strengths. So the activation in your personality is the 24, which is my IQ, which makes me a good storyteller. The 24 is the gift of invention. You can't have a good story if you aren't inventing. And that's why a lot of your life is a good part of your story, is because you invent things, a new way of doing things.
Oh my gosh. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And so each of these, we have a dark and a light there. And so the opposite of invention is addiction. And people are addicted to the way they think. We're addicted to our stories. We're addicted to the way we do things. And you're here to break out of that and invent new ways of looking at things.
Oh my gosh. That.
Yeah, that's why. And then what grounds you, your evolution. And so this becomes like a challenge that you meet over and over again. Is this teamwork? It's synergy. You have this invention, and then there's a teamwork that shows up. 4 lines are all about their network. They're all about their friends. You operate best when you get introduced to someone through someone. I actually can't remember how we met. Did we bump into each other
I was working for the library.
Yeah,
and I was on the outreach team, which I was terrified because I'm like, I'm such an introvert. How am I supposed to do outreach?
Your profile is actually a full extrovert, which is hilarious that you see yourself as an introvert because you have to learn through experiences. You have the introvert energies in your chart, but your public role is really, it needs to be out there. That's right. So your network was the library, and that's how I met you. And so usually relationships that come through a network for you are good.
I mean, I think it's fantastic. Like the fact that we're still connected after all this time and we've like lived like 20 lives in between is just like a blessing.
Yeah. Your attractor line is this gate of details. And so like there's a magnetic field around you. You're very good at details. Every good story needs a good detail. I've always got the big picture. So if you're missing out on those, you come I always tell people like, I am your chat GPT with this, like, come ask me your questions. Where are you stuck? And I can look at your chart and I can tell you what it is.
Wow.
Unconsciously, so they call it your radiance and gene keys. And in human design, it's just your unconscious personality. And so the unconscious is fixed, and animals love you. They find you all over, don't they?
There's actually a running joke in the house that all of these like woodland animals have slowly like accumulated on the property, and they were not here before I moved in. And my father-in-law's like, can you please tell your animal friends to go anywhere else?
Yep. It's the gift of sensitivity. And it comes out of your drive and stamina, and you actually have this as your full emotional wave. So you're an emotional decision maker by nature. You have to feel into things, feel into the highs, feel into the lows, feel into the neutral. Timing for you is very important, and it's your other energies are like a pulse. They're either on or off, and oftentimes when they're off, humans try to turn them on, and for you, that's just the time to be in your wave and ride that. And it's a 6th line, and so unconsciously you're born with some wisdom. The 6th line is always seen as wise by others. People come to you for advice and things, and it lives a 3-part life process. So 30 is a big year for you, and 50 is a big year for you.
That's so crazy because this year is 30.
I meet a lot of you guys when you are turning 30. It's a Saturn return. Like my incarnation crosses upheaval. I'm here for people in times of like where things just, there's some stagnation, like things are starting to get shaken up. That's how I met you the first time, right? You were writing your first book.
That is so true. It was literally started the journey. Now it's like, all right, we've hit another marker. Hi, how are you?
Yeah. And then what grounds you on the unconscious side in human design, which is what they would call your purpose in relationships, is like what deeply fulfills you. The 33-6, the 33 is all about providing oversight. And this comes out of your voice. And the other half of that is what I told you earlier is my core talent is this, the 13, which is discernment. And you will attract a lot of these people. They're really discerning like what story is worth telling right now. And not every story needs to be told. Not every story has to be written. A lot of times people talk about this must be written. And if a story is meant to be written, that doesn't mean it needed to be written in that moment. Sometimes stories need to be shared at the right time.
It's true. Oh my gosh, that's so true. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So you're a great person to bring oversight to that. And from your website and talking about the cool journeys that you bring people on and making it very interactive. I mean, that's the oversight we need and how to learn. So that's great to see you living that, right? It feels very deeply fulfilling for you to provide this overarching structure and detail that people need.
It does. And honestly, it took me a while to figure out like this specific like line, because in the world where you can get all the answers just at a click of a button, you ask whatever AI is available, it's like, well, what can you still provide people that they'll be willing to learn?
Yes, we'll talk about your energy because ultimately that's what we call it strengths and personality, and but we also know that certain people's energy makes us feel a certain type of way. You've got some really big energies in your chart. You're triple split, so you have 3 distinct voices. So back to storytelling, and that means that your energy is just cut off from the other energies. So in a corporate setting, you would be ideal to talk to multiple cross-functional people and then come back, and you'll assimilate the information more slowly than other people. But when you come back, you usually come back with all the different voices and perspectives. And so you have a better answer oftentimes, which is why we have to slow down, which is what you mentioned in our main episode about corporate people. And my dad has this energy, and that's why he loved New York, because if you're out where people are, you start to bring in those energies. You don't have to talk to them, but all of a sudden you'll have an epiphany. Like you'll have all your voices talk at the same time to each other. And so in energy, all roads lead to the throat, which is why you're selling storytelling. You're meant to sell what you don't like. You have an inconsistent throat, meaning that you can tell stories in many different voices. And 72% of people have a very specific story and voice, like writing voice, right? A very specific way of speaking. And so all your energy is trying to go there. Your head energy is channeling inspiration. And then you have your ego center that's connected to your identity. And it's the love of humanity, which is why you want to write love stories. If you listen to her main episode. Yes.
Stop it.
Yeah, you're competitive, and it connects to your identity, and it's not about the love of the individual. It's about a universal love. It's about love. Yeah.
Stop. Yes.
And then that voice doesn't talk to the other ones. And the other one is your decision maker. It's all about revolution. So you're sensitive because you're sensitive to the revolution that is here, that's happening, that needs to happen. The revolution has the word evolution in it, and people forget that.
Yes.
Yeah, which is why the American Revolution was not a true revolution, as a history teacher shining some light on the truth. The same people in charge were in charge after the revolution in America. They just didn't have the accent anymore. The Mexican Revolution was a true revolution. The French Revolution, true revolution. Like, you don't mess around over there; they will cut your head off, because there was an evolution to who was in charge. But we don't see that, and so you're very sensitive to where we're headed in that way. It's very tribal, and the tribe likes tradition, it likes hierarchy. Um, so
Stop. I can't believe you used the word tribal. That is insane. I love that. Oh my gosh.
your other energies are very individualistic, and so there's this dynamic inside of you that is the individual that wants to mutate and change the system, and then there's this part of you that also wants to uphold the traditions of the system. Right? You feel that deeply, and they can feel opposed to each other because they kind of are. The tribe does not want to change, transform, alchemize, if you will, right? Like, it really transmute. It cannot look the same.
Yeah. It has to evolve. It has to, even if some things get lost, it has to evolve.
Yeah. You mentioned AI earlier, and with your energies, I could almost see you saying, like, to the tribe, well, this is a resource of water that we use for AI. And so it's not about, do we use it or do we not use it, but it's more on 3 generations from now, what would we like that use to look like, so that 3 generations from now, they still have water, right? So you can be juxtaposed. And when you're part of the tribe, you also know how to get the tribe to do the right thing. You know how to speak their language, right? Which shows up in all your storytelling that you've put together.
Oh my gosh. I'm like floored with all this information. This is amazing.
Your core talent. So core talents and emotions, if the world knew, they don't start developing fully. So it's not about developing, it's about maturing, right? And so we think like, oh, at 18, you're an adult, like you fully have developed, but maturity takes time and experience. And so at 42, you start to step into that maturity. If we all knew that, we would give a lot more grace to ourselves, to others. 38 to 42 starts to really be that moving forward. 30 is big as well, because Saturn's here for you. So it's helping to push you into wherever you're meant to go in life. And your core talent that you'll be developing is marketing. It's just the ability to attract attention. You're natural at that.
That's so funny, because literally yesterday I was like, I'm so tired of marketing. Well,
so this is where society gets confused a little bit about marketing, right? Like, they've invented this. Marketing is just really, they've used it as a word for propaganda, and right? Where marketing is just about being able to attract attention, and it's the right attention, right? And so it's a talent that you have, and you have the 49 there, which the 49 is about revolution. So you might want to think about, instead of, I'm tired of marketing, usually you get inspired by the flaws and you invent a new way of it. You might want to think about, how will you invent a new way of attracting attention, which is all that marketing really is.
Oh, that's so exciting. Okay.
Think about what story you might write with that energy when it comes from that space. Because marketing does need to evolve. Right now, marketing is, if we're to build, a future that we would like our kids to live in 3 generations from now, maybe marketing shouldn't be to convince them that they need the latest and greatest thing.
I mean,
Maybe
honestly, the best ads are honestly the ones that have the truest stories. And if we tapped into like more of that, we would have less problems and more drinking water.
Yeah, we just have to have a generation of thinkers. Otherwise, they're going to buy everybody's story, and they're not going to be able to tell the difference between the story that resonates for them and the story that was written for someone else, right? Not every story is for you.
That's true. That is 100% true. And we're a very diverse world. So,
yeah. I have you have a money line in charts in the gene key system. They don't call it the money line, but it is how nature naturally organizes money around you. And you are a 3 line there, and 3 lines are all about celebration. That's why you need money. It needs to go out the door. It's the bonds made, bonds broken energy. Money comes in, money comes out. Money comes in, money comes out. We need it to celebrate. And when you get really clear around all the things that you're building around celebration, it allows money to come more naturally to you.
stop it. Stop it.
Does that sound like a lived experience or just a really nice way to have money?
No, honestly, like, yes. And it's funny that you use the word celebration, because when I was formulating all the masters on planet and the masters in training, one of them is the master of celebration, because we like forget that after all the drama and trauma, even if you just wrote a draft of something, you still need to celebrate that. Like, I don't care if it's done or not. Like, you did the work. Go buy a cake or something.
Yes. I like to celebrate endings because everybody celebrates beginnings. I've retired so many times. I've retired from being a teacher. I did come out of retirement for 1 more year. I retired from being a gym owner. And then I came back and taught CrossFit Kids. And then I retired from being nonprofit. And then I ran my business like a nonprofit for 2 years. And then and I tried to retire out of corporate, and I got pulled right back in. And I realized, okay, I really like throwing parties. Maybe I should start throwing parties around other things as well. So I've got a new goal this year to focus on. It's important that people look at, like, what are your natural cycles? Like, every 3 years, I had a new place on my resume, and I stayed with something for 7 years, which is a complete cycle. Even if I moved to a different job, it was still within that same career, so to speak. So you always need a good party.
You really do.
Right? You should have a celebration for your book is no longer available on a shelf party, for example. You officially have a limited edition book that you can send people out on you could even put a few of those gems in random, used bookstores if you wanted.
Oh my gosh. That would be 10 out of 10, honestly.
I always like to look at people's creativity when I look at their charts as well, and how they're meant to communicate, or what what energy is just natural for them. It's so interesting. Your communication is the 8, and the 8 is the gift of style. And the shadow is mediocrity, which, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery that mediocrity can provide. You're really here to go your own way and not to follow a formula, so to speak, which is what you talked about in the main episode. And if you haven't tuned in, you should go listen to it, because you're going to hear all of this in her episode, just living it. And like, her episode is the story, and mine is almost like the behind the scenes. Hey, here's what built the story.
Yes, I love it. I love it so much.
So you're gonna love this part. So your creativity, we talked in the main episode about just like timing and how everything worked. Your creativity is a 6 line, which is synchronicity. And it is the gate 60, which is all about like, it's the gift of realism. Realism is magic. Magic is real. You identify, these are the limitations and they need a little bit of structure. And if I can provide, like, creative writing, when you went back to school and they said to build a website, like, you're identifying what are the limitations of this physical world that we're living in. Politics, all of it combined. Based on that, here's where I'm going to innovate. Here's where I'm going to create magic. Right? The Wright brothers couldn't pretend gravity didn't existed in order to fly a plane, and yet they flew a plane. And that's really what your creativity is. It's rooted in. It's rooted in the Earth's timing, and it is either on or it is off. That's period. End of story on that.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Wow. Yeah.
And so synchronicity, I joked earlier on our other episode about how you don't want to peak early. It was a young author, won a Young Author Award in 2nd grade, never wrote another book. And this is really about the right timing. And you can make $1 million as a writer anytime in your career, but when you make it at the right time, in the right way, You have something sustainable, like you're building a full life. You're not just building, we talked about entrepreneurship earlier, right? You're building exactly what, you've identified the limitations. Money is one of the limitations. We have to have that. And then you're
Yes.
creating structures to build magic. I'm glad you already raised your prices. I'm a little mad because I could have gotten in beforehand. Um, but hey, that's good timing for you. The only reason I did this, when I thought you might like, I'm like, who is this person? Is this a fraud? I thought I don't want to give them my credit card information.
It's funny because for at least 2 years, like one of my core supporters is my best friend from high school. I call him my brother, and he's traveling the world. He's living in his truth like 100%. And he was like, sis, why are you charging $1? I was like, the dollar is important right now and you don't understand. And then like literally I think we spoke a week ago and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to talk about this. And like 2 days ago, it was like, yeah, no, you gotta change.
Honestly, part of it looked like fraud to me because it was only $1. And I'm like, they just want my credit card and they're going to do something with it. So I love that it's interesting. Your driving force on the conscious side is the 48. And the 48 is the gift of resourcefulness. It's actually the owl. But it's the shadow of inadequacy. And so just remembering how resourceful you are meant to build a business with a unit, which is like 3 to 15 people. So when you think about your animation project and all of those, that's about the size of the team that you're meant to be working with naturally.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy because my team is literally 3 people.
Yeah.
What?
It's like you have so much, like I said earlier, you have so much big energy that the only part of the 360 is all about innovation. Where is the 3? Oh, this is your emotional intelligence. Okay, so the 60 is your creativity, and that brings the structure. And then the 3 is putting things into order, and that is your emotional realm. So your emotional realm, when it's disorder, it's chaos, and when it's in order, right, you're able to innovate.
Yeah, it's very spot on.
What else is fun I see in your chart? As a child, I talked earlier to you offline about like age 0 to 7. You have this beautiful energy, the 22, that comes out of the emotional center, and it's all about graciousness and grace, giving grace to others, giving grace to yourself, just being an example of grace. Which I think you use that word even in our podcast about that for entrepreneurship, right? Like you talked about being a writer and creating a plan to fail. Like the plan is always to fail.
Yes, it is. And giving yourself that opportunity to fail without like being super upset, that's the grace. That is the true grace right there, because nothing is worse, especially because I love planning things out to make sure that not only do I not miss anything, but like I have a goal. Like I wake up excited, like, oh yeah, I'm on this part of the plan. And then you're like on step 40 out of 60, and step 41 makes you go back to step 1. And it's like, wait, I was just, why? So
yeah. A lot of energies are meant, like when things, sometimes the purpose was just to get to the 40 steps, right? And this is a really hard one, particularly when I talk to my clients in corporate. They're in Tibet. There's the monks that make these beautiful mandalas out of this little tiny fine dye. And they will spend thousands of hours making them, and then they'll bring them outside and they will blow away in the wind within an hour. And that's because it wasn't for the outcome, it was for the experience. And that really describes the 4-6 public role. You're here to show us that life is just an experiential adventure, and you don't have wisdom until the step is complete. Right. So when you get to step 40, you have a wisdom of 39 steps.
it's true. And it's so underestimated because it's like you get forward and you think you know something, and then you hit a point that it's like, oh, there's more. So it's exciting but terrifying at the same time. I love that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you can be a nice anchor for people to recognize that that's part of the process. It's interesting. Your incarnation cross is the cross of the 4 ways, and it's around an innate desire to explore and comprehend the world around you. You have an unrelenting drive to gain mental clarity and understanding, often returning to experiences and memories to analyze and dissect them until you have a firm grasp on their intricacies. This drives you to give a unique perspective that allows you to see things from a different angle, often uncovering hidden connections and patterns that others may overlook. It's a highly individualistic pursuit. You are likely to excel as a self-driven learner or independent contributor. You have a very good focus and detail. I need that in my life. I'm glad you showed up in my door today. I could use a little more attention to details. Yeah, this is the story that was written based on what time you were born and the place and location. And to me, that is the only fixed part of our story that we have. And it does shape a lot of the stories that we write today, which is why we see you writing about love.
That's so true. Oh my gosh. Wow.
A couple more things I'll share with you, and then we'll wrap up here, is your of course, I paused what I was going to say. Your natural environment. So there's different environments that people thrive in. And yours is called natural shores. So same as my dad. I think these go hand in hand with the triple split. So I remember you had like these three distinct voices. You can actually be three different people in the same meeting, for example. And if you ask them for some feedback from the people that are on your team that you have, because they might experience that. It would be helpful even if they knew to listen for those. You have the voice of inspiration and invention. You have this voice of innovation and intuition that says this is where we go. And then you have this and this voice of revolution, and then you have this voice of love and of humanity. So whenever you're trying to write, right, it sounds like you're trying to tap into that voice of the love.
Yeah,
that's where you're competitive at. So that's your willpower center. It's where your heart is. They call it the heart or ego center. So it makes sense to me that like that's, art is really just ego on display.
Oh my gosh, put that on a shirt. That is 100% true. And it's funny because like as I'm writing, I always say that I tap into like the great flame. I on Storyteller Planet, everyone comes from the great flame, and that is like the story that existed before we wrote stories down. They were told orally for generations and generations. Like that is the core. That's where I write from. I'm like, yep, we're going to tap into that because it's not just my voice. It's a collection of voices that never got to say anything. So yeah, that all checks out with the whole tune to the earth and love and all that.
That's a great flame story that you wrote, because from a human evolution story, the creation of fire was a human being saying what we have isn't good enough. It was a human being saying, I'm an Aries. And so that was my part of the zodiac saying what we have isn't good enough.
That's true.
Right. And then we became the creator, and we've been creating our own messes ever since. But let them eat cooked meat and and let us have heat.
Let us have heat.
The environment for natural shores, you're meant to come in and you're meant to come out, and you're meant to come in and you're meant to come out. And so my dad, he has lived in my hometown for his entire life, Sterling, Illinois. But my mom worked an hour away. So they would go into and they would come back, and they would go in and come back. He comes here once a quarter and stays for a few weeks. He'll go downtown, walk to the bar downtown, then he'll come back. And you're meant to be a psychological carrier of information. That's how you move information. So when you physically move and travel, you can move information faster sometimes than the internet. Perhaps, the year of the fire horse right now is all about the relationship we have with time. And the last two times we've had this, 1906, the relationship with time shifted because of cars. And then in 1963, 4, whatever it was the internet. I think it was 66. The internet was and so we shifted our time experience with the internet. And what you and I are kind of hinting at is that perhaps we want to slow down in time.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Absolutely. Yes.
The fire certainly shifted our relationship with time, right? It provided light when it was dark.
I love how it all connects, and especially because like this new cycle has so much energy behind it. There's 5 holidays today. 4 holidays and an eclipse, actually. Like, and I woke up today like, oh my gosh, this is the most intense day we're probably going to get out of the year, and it's kicking off the year, like the lunar year rather. So it's exciting to know that it's like this is a rare energy, and it's even rarer because we get even more glitters and glam on it from like
I
around the
kind of
world.
forgot about all those things, even though I've been posting about all those things. So anyway, I've just forgot, like, yeah, that we're talking about this right now. What's interesting as well is, so we're both considered a pure generator in this system, and because we have an open throat, we don't manifest as quickly. And because you have 3 different energies in your talking, you don't assimilate information as quickly. And we're really here to show the value of moving step by step by step by step, where the rest of the end builders are going to, like, the manifesting generators will skip steps, and the projectors can get done in 1 hour what the rest of us take 4 hours to do. But we when you there is there's importance to staying still and slowing down, and that's part of what we bring to people, right? We're perfectly fine with being quiet.
Yeah, it's true. And I always think of that picture, I guess it's a meme now, of like someone uh constantly chipping at the wall, and then like you get tired and you're about to give up, but there's like this much left of the wall before you get everything that you ever wanted. Like that's what keeps making me like go forward, and it's like, okay, well, I don't know exactly what is forward, but I don't want to miss out on breaking through the wall, you feel me?
How our energy type works is that we don't break the wall, we would pull people towards us. And so then this is a hard one, because it's not that we do nothing, but we might wake up one day and somebody has busted through the wall for us because they were trying to get to the other side, in search of something that they didn't know that we were sitting there behind them. Like my first business I built, I sat in a park. I had a waiver, so a little bit of structure, and I had some equipment, and I had a Facebook page before Facebook made you pay to get anybody to see you. I'm that old. Yeah, I was there when Google was invented, and so because of those structures, I was able to bring people towards me, so that before I opened my business, I already had people to purchase the memberships, right? So when you're building something, like you had that inkling, like you've got to go on LinkedIn, that you have to have something to respond to. That's what we're meant to do. And sometimes there isn't anything worth responding to. And that's why you're meant to stay still.
That's
It's a
comforting.
hard one. We're the turtle in the race. We're not the hare. And we're not. Yeah.
I have, honestly, I love that story. I've always loved that story, and I've always resonated with the tortoise, but I've always felt like I'm like, yeah, slow and steady wins the race. But like my mind is like, no, we live in this world of fast pace. I'm like, I need you to calm down. Like, no, it makes sense that I have 3 voices, because I'm like, me to me every single day, like, calm down. We're okay. Like, we're right where we need to be, because we can't be anywhere else.
Well, I think our time has come, because now I see all these people that are promoting like the soft and successful life. And I'm like, oh, you mean the one where you just worked more slowly and intentionally and then you had everything you want? Um, that's the life. I did not always live that life. My Saturn return brought me this great business and it was awesome, but I had worked so hard for it that I hit burnout. And by the time I left, everybody else was not great humans to me. Like I missed that oversight, that discernment, that intention. Like, were these people's intentions the same as my intentions? And so I skipped that step. I was just like, oh, well, they showed up, so this is the thing that we're going to do. The last thing I'll leave you with in our bonus episode here, and if you haven't gone over to look at the Planet Storyteller, she's on Instagram, LinkedIn, Threads, and Facebook. You can also check out her website, planetstoryteller.com. And the last thing I want to share with your chart, Pluto is the planet of truth and transformation. And in your chart, you have the 34-3, consciously, unconsciously. And the mantra of this energy that I also have, easy is right. That is the mantra, which is why I tell everybody the best stories write themselves. Right? You don't. The best stories are the memoirs, and you don't write those until after the life has been lived.
It's true. And honestly, that is, I embody that because literally this past season, every November I try to write a new story, and every November I've kind of like not been so great at it. And this time I found a story that it was like, it came out and book 2 and 3 came out right after it. I was like, oh, okay, well, this story needs to be told right now.
Yeah, that's how that pulse works. And both of your pressure centers are pulses. Your head is a pulse, so we share that same head channel, which is why when people everyone was trying to send me like advice on writing a book, and I'm like, I just don't think it's here yet. And then, but if it needs to be here, then we're gonna have to force. Like, is it easy as right? And then your bottom up pressure is drive and stamina, and that's also a pulse. It's on or off, and so you can't turn them on because they're rooted in the consciousness timing and they're rooted in the Earth's timing.
Cool. Well,
yeah. Well, thank you so much for letting me read your chart. And for those of you tuning in, like I said, go check out her main episode. It's really great. And if you're a 4/6 or a generator with someone with an open throat, drop us a comment if this sounds like something that you've experienced in your life. Love to hear your own experiences. Not everyone's truth is your truth. It's a very individualistic life out there. Go write your story.
Yes, it's important.
It is.